Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2015 Chevy Sonic, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Direct Connect base plate kit with removable arms. So there's going to be a total of 5 main components needed to flat tow your Sonic down the road. First one's going to be a base plate, and that's going to provide us with a solid and reliable connection point. That way we can hook our tow bar up to it. Tow bar is going to be that second component. And that's going to be the physical link that connects the front of your Chevy to the back of your motorhome. Third main component is going to be safety cables. And these are there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. Those are going to keep everything paired together. Fourth main component is going to be tow bar wiring. And this is going to transfer the lighting functions from the back of your motorhome to the back of your Sonic, keeping you safe and legal. And last but not least, fifth main component is going to be a braking system. And this is going to apply the brakes in your Chevy whenever you hit the brakes in your coach, helping to bring you to a more predictable stop. So this is what our base plate is going to look like whenever we're not using it, whenever we're not hooked up to our motorhome and we're just kind of cruising around town. And honestly, I don't think it looks all that bad. It's going to sit pretty much flush with our bottom grille here, and everything's kind of compact and close together. Which I think is important on a small vehicle like the Sonic. If it were me, I wouldn't want a compact car with a big, large piece of metal here at the front. So I think they did a good job on how they designed it, and it's still going to be easy to use. Something that I do like too is the fact that they incorporate a bracket onto the base plate. That way it gives you a spot to mount up your wiring connector, and that's not something you see all the time. This just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to kind of wonder and figure out where you can mount your wiring up. So it saves you a little time there and helps keep everything nice and clean. But I said it's going to be easy to use, and that holds true because we have removable arms. So whenever you're ready to hook up to your tow bar, you're simply just going to have to take that removable arm, put it into the base plate, then rotate it about a quarter turn, and it's going to lock into position. Same deal with this one here on the other side. So whenever we are ready to actually hook up to our tow bar in our motorhome, going to be super simple, and that's because more or less it's a quick connect type setup here. So you'll line your tow bar up, take the pin, push it right through, and lock it into place. You have to set up your other components as well, your braking system and your wiring. Safety cable opening is going to be easy to get to, and that's really all there is to it. Don't take up a whole lot of time, really easy to figure out. The base plate is going to work with most Roadmaster tow bars without any changes, and it's also going to be able to work with many other different types of tow bars as well. So today we have the etrailer.com SD tow bar, and you're able to see it's paired up with our base plate by using an adapter. So if that's your case, you have a different type of tow bar already, you can always pick up an adapter here at eTrailer and make it work. And just kind of a quick note on these adapters, if that's what some of you guys plan on doing. The pins here that secure the tow bar to the base plate, the pins will come with Roadmaster tow bars. They're not going to come with your base plate. So if you do use an adapter, make sure you also pick up these pins. That way you can actually connect the tow bar to the base plate properly. So there is one thing I do want to mention, and that's the use of a high-low adapter, which you can see here has quite a substantial drop. And the reason for it is you want your tow bar to be nice and level. Generally speaking, you have a 3-inch threshold. So to figure out if you need a high-low adapter or not, what you're going to do is park on a level surface like this, measure from the center of your base plate here down to the ground, where the pinhole is. Measure from the center of your hitch pinhole on your motorhome, and compare those two measurements. Like I said, within 3 inches is that good rule of thumb. Now, one thing I do like to recommend, especially on these smaller cars, and if you have a motorhome that sits up real high, one thing you can do to help eliminate the need for such a large high-low adapter, or maybe in its entirety, is use a crossbar style base plate. Essentially the same as this, except the arms come out and up a little bit. You have this crossbar here. So that crossbar style will usually make your connection point, a little bit higher up off the ground. So just something to think about. Either setup will work just fine. At the end of the day, you just want your tow bar to be nice and level. That way it pulls your Sonic down the road nice and smooth. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the front of our Sonic, and we need to remove our front fascia. That way we can get our base plate on. So we're going to have our radiator cover up here, and we need to start by pulling out some of those fasteners. We're going to have 6 push pins kind of along this edge, just like this. You can take a trim tool, pry underneath the head, and pull it out. You can also use a flathead screwdriver to do this as well. I'll simply just work my way down and get all 6 of these removed. Once we have those plastic fasteners out of the way, we're going to have 4 10mm head bolts just like this one that we also need to pull out. Now what we can do is move over here to our wheel wells, and along this front edge we're going to have 4 T20 torque spit screws just like this. Whenever you're pulling these out, what you can do is kind of turn your wheel in a little bit. That'll give you some more room to work. With that being said, grab our tool here and get all of these removed. That 4th one will be up here, and it'll be facing more or less straight up. Now underneath of our vehicle, on each side of it here, we're going to have 3 T20 torque spit fasteners. So one there, and one here. So we'll grab our tool and get all of these pulled out. Go ahead, repeat this process on the other side of our vehicle, and from this point on, anything we do to this side, we're also going to do to the other side because it'll be set up the same way. Now here in the dead center of our vehicle, underneath, we're going to have a pushpin style fastener. So we can pry that out. And on each side of it, we're going to have a 13mm bolt. So we'll go ahead and pull those out as well. Now just in front of this deflector here, in the dead center of our bumper, we're going to have another T20 torque spit. You can pull that out. And we should be able to kind of grab our splash shield and lower it and set it off to the side. On each side of our vehicle, now that we have our splash shield out of the way, you can see this bumper tab here where it connects to this little bracket. Here on our subframe. You need to remove this screw, and we're going to do that using a Phillips head bit. Now before we start to pull our fascia off, to make it a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is disconnect our fog lights. So you can come to your wheel well liner and just pull that liner back, and here's the fog light there. You can squeeze the bottom of the connector and pull down to disconnect it. So there's kind of a better view on what I was pushing it on. That there and that there. So when you squeeze them, it opens up. So I'm going to do that on each side, and that way when we pull the fascia off, it's just a little more manageable. Now with an extra set of hands, we can remove our front fascia. So I put some tape here along the corners, that way we don't have to worry about scratching up or paint or anything. But what you're going to do is start on the edge here And you're just going to carefully kind of lift up and pull towards you. Be careful, the fascia does kind of just pop right off. And we'll pull it back. Make sure we don't have any other electrical connectors, which in our case there is actually one over there on the passenger side. You can pull back on that white retainer, push down in the center, disconnect it. And now we can set our fascia off to the side, out of the way. So now with the fascia out of the way, if you look here towards the bottom, we need to remove this bumper guard. It's going to be held in place on each side of our vehicle by 3 bolts. So 2 on the inside, 1 on the outside. So I'll take a 13mm socket and get these removed. I already got the other side bolts out. So once we get this one out, we should be able to pull it away from the vehicle and set it to the side. Now what we can do is grab our side brace. These are specific to each side, so make sure to check the instructions, the diagram, to make sure you got the right side. But the way this is going to work is it's going to fit right here in this area. And there's actually some pre-drilled holes that are already in the frame rail. So we're going to drop some bolts down through, which will go through those holes. So we'll kind of just let that hang for now. The one closest to the front, we're going to take our long bolt and a flat washer. Put that flat washer over. Drop that down through. So you can see where it comes out there. And what I'm going to do is take some red Loctite. This is not included, but you can grab it here at eTrailer, and you want to apply this to the threads. We're going to apply a drop of this to all of the hardware that we're going to use to secure the base plate. What we're going to do is take a flat washer, followed by a split lock washer and a hex nut, and get this started hand tight. So once we got that going, we can work on the other opening there. This time we're going to run the bolt from the bottom up. So you take your bolt, flat washer, and run it through. A little bit of Loctite on there. Our flat washer, split lock washer, and again a hex nut. Now we can grab our main receiver brace. Gonna put that roughly into position. So now what we're gonna do to actually secure our base plate is we'll start with this hole here closest to the front. We're gonna take a bolt and a flat washer. Don't forget your Loctite. Run that up through the bottom, like so. Then you're gonna top it off with a flat washer, a split lock washer, and a hex nut. Let's get that going. And this one's going to be pretty much the same with one exception. What you're going to do is take a bolt, the flat washer on it, put that up through the bottom. But before you do that, you can take a flat washer and put it in between the two pieces of base plate there. You want that to line up with the hole. And that'll kind of fill that gap that this factory tab here from our bumper is creating. So you get that close. This is a little tricky, so be patient. You definitely want to make sure that you got it lined up correctly. It may help to grab a thin screwdriver, something like that, to help kind of guide it where you need it to go. We'll go ahead and get our bolt through. Once we have it through like that, you can grab another flat washer. A split lock washer, and a nut. Once we have this in place, do the same thing on the other side. At this point, we can grab our bumper brace, the factory one that we removed a moment ago, and put that back into position. So this will just kind of slide around the base plate almost. We'll line up with those factory attachment points, and we're just going to use the factory bolts. What I like to do is just get all these going kind of hand tight and then come back and snug them all down. It's a little tight in there, and then we have the base plate. So what may help is to just take your bolt, put it on an extension in a socket, and get it started by hand that way first. Once you got them going, come back and snug them all down. Now what you want to do is kind of pull out on your main receiver brace towards the front of the vehicle. Make sure all that slack is kind of taken out here at our attachment points. Make sure it's level. And once it is, we can tighten up all of our hardware. So I'm just going to use a 19mm to get it all snug. So once all of the hardware is snug, we can come back with a torque wrench and tighten it down to the amount specified in our instructions. Now we can do, once our base plate is properly torqued down, if we look here on our bumper support, we're going to have a couple of existing holes, and we need to enlarge those to the size listed in the instructions all the way through. That way it comes through the opening here on the back side of our base plate. So I'll grab my bit and get that done. So once the hole's drilled, you can take the mid-length bolt, this one here, a flat washer, run it through, make sure it goes through our bumper beam there and the base plate. Get your red Loctite. You're going to take just a split lock washer this time. Slide that over, followed by a hex nut. Let me get this going here. Come back, snug it down, and do the same thing on the other side. So once you have the bolts in place and tightened down, don't forget to come back and torque them to the proper specs. Now if we come back over here to our front fascia, what we need to do is remove the ambient air temp sensor and the wire. That way we can transfer it over to our actual vehicle. So here's the sensor. All you have to do is just kind of pull up and out on that. And the wiring's going to be held in place. Got a couple points here. Take a trim tool and just kind of pop it free. Then we can go get it mounted up on our vehicle. So what I went ahead and did was just plug our ambient air temp sensor back into that original connector there, opposite how we did when we removed it. And I just kind of bundled up the wire, zip tied it here and there, and I relocated the sensor itself right here Again, just zip tying it to the base plate. So at this point, it'd be a great time to install any other of your flat towing components like wiring or a braking system. And I say that because with the fascia off, we have a lot more room to work and it's a lot easier to get all them components installed. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Once you have them installed, or if you already do, from here you'd simply hold your fascia up. You're going to have to cut out small portions of the bottom of your grill. That way your base plate can pass through there. So that's what you would do, and then simply reinstall everything the opposite way that you removed it. Now that we have our other flat tow components installed, we can go ahead and get our fascia back into position. So what I did is just roughly have it held up here where it should go. And I'm just looking to see where it's going to interfere with our base plate. Made a couple marks, and I'll cut those areas out, come back, test fit it, and do more trimming. So I like to cut as little as possible and work from there. We can always cut more, can't really add material. So I'll start with this here, try it out, and see how it turns out. So I made some marks there where I want to cut. It's pretty thin plastic. I'm just going to use a tool like this. Probably get away with a regular pair of snips or Dremel, something like that as well. But so like we talked about, just make a few cuts, see how it fits, and continue to modify it if need be. So I trimmed and test fit a couple of times, and this is what I ended up with. So a little bit more than I anticipated, but that's okay. I did actually have to kind of trim into this solid piece here to allow our base plate to pass through. And with everything done and out of the way, we can start to re-secure our fascia the opposite way that we removed it. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster Direct Connect base plate kit with removable arms on our 2015 Chevrolet Sonic.